You hear it on the news all the time. A massive hurricane wipes out a coastal town, and immediately someone claims the disaster is actually an economic stimulus. Or we are told a sudden surge in government spending will instantly create millions of jobs. On the surface, the math seems to make sense. People get put to work, money changes hands. But there is a massive blind spot hidden in that logic, one that secretly drains wealth out of society. This diagram illustrates what we call the visible timeline. Imagine a kid throws a rock through a baker's front window. The baker is furious, but the crowd points out a silver lining. Now the baker has to pay a repairman to fix the glass. The repairman takes that cash and buys lunch at a restaurant. Money is moving, jobs are supported. The crowd concludes the broken window actually stimulated the local economy. Let's rewind that scenario back to right before the glass shattered. Because looking only at who got paid ignores who never got a chance to earn anything. The baker had been saving up, and that afternoon he was planning to buy a new suit, but now he can't. The repairman got paid, sure, but the tailor got absolutely nothing. We didn't create new wealth or new jobs. We just forcefully redirected money from the tailor to the glassmaker. We are back to where we started, except we are missing a perfectly good piece of glass. Bad economic policies survive on this exact trade. They pull your attention to the window being fixed, and they count on you never noticing the suit that was never made. Let's scale this up from a single bakery to an entire village. Imagine a small town with a perfectly stable economy. There is a fixed amount of goods, bread, milk, clothes, and a fixed amount of money circulating. Prices are completely normal. Then, overnight, the mayor quietly prints $10,000 in fresh cash and hands it straight to 3 of his close friends. The very next morning, those friends hit the market. Because prices haven't adjusted yet, they buy up goods at the normal rates. To anyone watching, the village looks prosperous. The market is bustling, merchants are getting paid, and the economy seems flush with cash. This chart tracks what actually happens in the unseen timeline. By the afternoon, the sellers realize everyone seems to have more cash to spend, so they raise their prices to match the demand. By the time you show up after a long day of work, everything costs more. You haven't received any of that new money, but you are now paying the newly inflated prices. Your purchasing power just plummeted. Printing money looks like financial relief on the surface. The government gets to hand out cash, and people feel richer for a moment. But the invisible reality is that every new dollar printed silently siphons value out of the dollars already sitting in your pocket. We see this same blind spot when people panic over new technology. In the 1800s, workers in England broke into factories under the cover of night to smash massive weaving machines. They believed that automated production would permanently eliminate the need for human labor. And if you only look at the immediate, visible timeline, they were right. In the short term, specific weavers painfully lost their livelihoods to those machines. But this line chart reveals the unseen timeline that followed. Over the next 27 years, the automation made clothing radically cheaper to produce. Because it was cheaper, consumer demand exploded. The English cotton industry grew from just under 8,000 workers to roughly 320,000. The machines didn't destroy jobs. They created 40 times more of them. Fast forward to today, and we hear the exact same arguments about artificial intelligence, writing code, designing graphics, or drafting documents. People are terrified the machines have finally come for the white-collar workforce. The goal of human society is to increase overall wealth and living standards. If we wanted zero unemployment, we could ban trucks and force people to carry cargo on their backs, or dig roads with spoons. But the jobs lost to automation are the visible window. The newly created industries that follow are the unmade suit. This logic fails on an even larger scale when we look at entire nations. Right after World War II, some economic experts looked at the absolute devastation of European cities and claimed the bombings were actually a hidden blessing. Their argument focused purely on the visible timeline. They pointed to the mountains of rubble and argued that clearing it and rebuilding everything would create an incredible boom in construction jobs and a massive surge in demand for materials. But if we rewind and look at the unseen timeline, the math completely falls apart. If your house burns down and you spend 2 years perfectly rebuilding it exactly as it was, you aren't richer. You are back exactly where you started. Those same workers, those same bricks, and those same cranes could have been used to build a brand new hospital or a factory that didn't exist before. We apply this exact same flawed logic to massive government spending projects today. We look at the visible outcome: politicians grinning for the cameras and cutting ribbons in front of brand new, taxpayer-funded megastadiums. But look at the unseen timeline. The millions of dollars in heavy taxes extracted from the public to build that single structure actively drained capital away from local communities. Because of those taxes, countless private small businesses never had the margins to open their doors or hire new employees. Governments do not create wealth or jobs through taxation and spending. They simply redirect capital away from what the public actually wanted toward what looks best in a press release. We can boil all of these complex macroeconomic systems down to a simple schoolyard interaction. You wake up early and pack yourself a great lunch, but a kid in your class named Jake forgets his. Your teacher feels terrible for him, so she walks over, takes half of your sandwich, and hands it to Jake. In the visible timeline, this is a beautiful moment. Jake gets to eat, the teacher feels generous for facilitating it, and the rest of the class claps for the good deed. But in the invisible timeline, you are sitting there hungry. You followed every single rule. You did the work to prepare, and yet you are the one secretly paying the cost of the teacher's generosity. In economics, you represent a leery, specific identity. You are the forgotten man. You are the grandfather who worked for 40 years, only to watch his life savings evaporate when the government decided to print more money. You are the small business owner who never launched because the tax burden was too high. You are the baker who never got his suit. Many bad economic ideas take hold by putting Jake in the spotlight while leaving the forgotten man in the dark. So the next time a politician or a pundit promises you a miracle or a free lunch, don't just stare at the freshly repaired window. Look for the unmade suit.